Hi, and welcome back to another edition of, I was going to say Stampede Wrestling. Okay, I'm old. And in between, yes. So, Let's Talk Ghosts. A long time ago, in a land far, far away, there was a show called Stampede Wrestling. That was in Calgary. And, that was one of the catchphrases that they had. Anyway. So, we haven't been around for a few weeks because I was very sick and lost my voice. Bruce loved that. So I couldn't really talk very much. And I still have a bit of a squeak in my voice, so bear with us.
That's not from me choking.
No, of course not.
No. I would never do that.
You would never do such a thing.
No.
So we've got a couple of things today. One that I thought we had done, because we had taken a bunch of notes. I think we did it, and then I got sick and couldn't talk. Excuse me. I couldn't talk without coughing my face off. I think that's what happened. So we've set it aside, and we just had to quickly review. So this first group is called Ghosts on Trent. It's another UK group. And the first one that we saw, actually, was a show or an episode called A Morgue So Haunted People Ran in Fear. Wow. Only one of the fellas went. He was investigating on his own. His name is Paul. So Paul says that he's a bit nervous to be investigating on his own tonight because he doesn't often investigate alone. And that's a good thing. You know, if anybody has been following us, you know that I'm a big proponent for investigating in pairs, simply for the safety factor. Now, these guys go to a lot of abandoned places. And some are haunted, some are not, some they don't know. So they're just going to find out. Now, this particular place, people have been going and investigating for quite some time. There is a morgue in it. I think it's like a old hospital or something.
No, the hospital. The only part of the hospital that's left was the morgue part. Right.
So anyway, he goes in and he's going to have his experience because he hasn't been there before, and I think he just really, his partner was not available and he wanted to go and do an investigation, and you know how that feels. You just want to go. So he went on his own. He did go with 2 cameras, so he had one like I think like a tripod kind of thing that could sit in the corner, and then one that was a handheld.
Yeah.
Which is pretty good. At least you've got 2 cameras, so if someone's going to kill you, you've got evidence left behind for whoever comes in and finds your body, eaten by the pigeons or whatever, much later. Speaking of pigeons play prominently in this episode.
Yes.
Wait for it. One of the things I really liked with this guy is he was doing appropriate tagging as things went on. Yeah. So a lot of times it was pigeons. Because there was this big hole in the roof and there were a lot of pigeons up there. And he would start to do some investigating, think he heard something, and then go, no, that was pigeons. So every time something would happen, he'd go, no, and we would look at each other and go, pigeons. And so it was really kind of funny. He explained how a REM pod works.
Yes.
Now, a lot of places don't do that. Now, he was explaining, yes, for the viewer, but also for the ghosts, possible ghosts, so they'd know what to do with this REM pod.
Yeah.
Oh, no, just make it go red. Make what go red? Like if I was a ghost and I wasn't familiar with that, what the hell are you talking about? I'm going to smack you upside the head. So, so he explained how that worked. And he also left a really good amount of time between questions.
Yeah.
For real investigators, you know that ghosts cannot answer on a dime. It's just not one of the things they can do. They have to build up their energy to get a response. Yeah. And when I was teaching EVP classes, one of the things I always said was leave time between your questions so that you can get a response. Because if you're just blabbering on and on, question after question after question, they don't have time to answer and they're not gonna.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, for what we see on television, most of that is edited for time.
Yeah.
But That's where so many of these YouTube armchair investigators think they know everything when they go out investigating because they've watched TV.
Yeah.
TV is entertainment. TV sometimes is documentary. But TV isn't where you should learn to investigate from. You really should learn from real investigators, going out with real investigators. Take classes, that sort of thing. But don't just see what you see on TV and think it's right. So this guy did it right. He left lots of time in between questions and was, basically disappointed when all he got was pigeons.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. We really enjoyed that one. So we thought we'd go and check out another one of theirs just to see if it was, still really good. So the next one we saw was called Sally's House. Now it turns out Sally isn't really Sally. It's Sally's House, the truth about its hauntings.
No.
And it's actually not Sally. The little girl who they reference is Susie.
Or Susie. Yeah.
Susie. Now it's an abandoned house. It's been sold. It's going to be demolished.
Yeah.
So it is now abandoned. And no, technically they're not supposed to be in there because it's private property. It's been sold. But it's going to be demolished. They're not going to be wrecking anything. So they go in, him and now his partner who is available, his name is Mark. So Mark and Paul go in and they do a sweep of the whole house to make sure they're alone.
Yeah.
Not that they're looking for ghosts or anything this time, but because it's abandoned and there's a whole bunch of stuff downstairs in the living room by the fireplace, it looks like beer, water bottles, looks like food containers and stuff. So someone had been staying there. Or there'd been, parties with people there, whatever. But they wanted to make sure they're alone. And that's a smart thing to do. That's a safety thing. So they go through the whole house, and it's actually a nice house.
Yeah.
And they determine that they are indeed alone. They close some of the windows. Smart. Because, again, you want to limit those outside noises when you're investigating things that can cover up or make you hear things that you aren't really hearing.
Mm-hmm.
So the rumors in this house are that there was a little girl was killed in the house. There's an aggressive ghost. This ghost throws things, all kinds of stuff. Poltergeisty stuff. So they want to go in and see. And they do. They start going in and just doing the typical ghost investigations, asking questions, trying to get their REM-pods to work. They did get a few things on the obelisk, but the obelisk isn't always accurate.
No.
Those speech apps and things, they're not always accurate. They will spit out random words and you have to determine the relevancy. So that was good that they didn't take everything as gospel. Again, very skeptical. And one of their disclaimers in the front of their episodes are, and this is what I always thought was interesting, this is a real paranormal investigation and may not contain any paranormal activity.
Yeah.
Thanks, Pickles. So...
something that Zach Bagans should...
Well, they're putting up what they've done. They're not putting up content just to show you ghosts. Because it's true. You don't always get...
No. But that's what I like about these two guys.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, you're probably hearing one of our dogs rummaging around in the background. We'll try to edit that out. Yeah, you don't always get stuff. Ghosts, and I've said this before, you've said this before, they do not dance on command for you. They don't come out on command. They don't speak on command. It's on their time if they want to communicate with you. So this was, I'm surprised that somebody would have to put up a disclaimer like that, but I understand why they do.
Yeah, it's about time somebody did.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I understand why they do, because otherwise somebody's going to say, well, he's in a ghost investigation. Well, it was. That's what they were looking for. Yeah. It turned out to be more of an urban exploration.
Yeah.
But that's okay, too. You never know what you're going to find. One of the things they also said was an exorcism was supposedly have been done in the house. Yeah. So if there was an exorcism in the house, is there something demonic left behind? So, they really had a lot of stories to combat with this site. And at the very end, after spending several hours in the house, now we didn't see that, they time-lapsed some of it, Paul says people make up stories. It's like the game of, I don't know, we would call it telegraph, but I don't know what they call it in the States. So people make up stories, and he says from everything that he has found out and things that they have investigated, those claims cannot be backed up.
Yeah.
So he says he does not believe that place is haunted.
Yeah.
Now, he did show some clips of social media texts and stuff where people are talking about all this stuff. And he said the previous owner came out and said, in quotes, it's shit. The place is not haunted. Yeah. So everybody who's been going there, telling everybody they've been finding stuff and hearing stuff, it's all a bunch of crock. Again, it's people who are trying to make stuff up.
Yeah.
Or imagining things. Vivid imaginations, and a house is creaking. That's my biggest thing. A house is creaking, so it's got to be footsteps. Yeah. Oh, I feel a breeze. Well, the window's bloody open. You know, it's common sense stuff.
Yeah.
So I liked these guys. We actually have subscribed. We're going to watch them some more and see if maybe they actually can encounter some ghosts at some point. It would kind of be nice. I do get the feeling that they do a lot of more urban exploring because there's so many abandoned places that they can go to. And abandoned does not mean haunted.
Yeah.
So, but the only way to know is to go.
Yeah.
So yeah, I liked these guys. What do you think?
Yeah, like I said, I'm a fan.
You're a fan?
I'm a fan because, you know, it was honest. Even in the first place, he says pigeons.
Yeah.
Pigeons. You know, and totally, you know, saying, oh, you know, you hear the pigeons moving and it sounds like footsteps.
Yeah, he was debunking it as he was going, and I like that.
Yeah.
Debunk. Yeah. And another credo that we have is when in doubt, throw it out. Yeah. If you are not convinced and you need somebody else to convince you that something is a footstep or something, then it is not evidence. When in doubt, throw it out.
Did you hear that? No, I didn't hear that.
Yeah. Oh, geez, yeah. I mean, sometimes that happens, that you'll hear a sound that I don't hear. Yeah. That doesn't mean it's not there.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say, oh, let's throw it out, because maybe it is a personal experience. But there are certain things.
Yeah.
Certain things that are just bunk.
Yeah.
So the second thing that we watched, and I found it through a message on Twitter. Some fellow messaged us and said that we needed to check out the Ghost of Gladstone Villa, and that it had even made some skeptics believers. So this is the fellow on Twitter. He's the Celtic Druid, and he has a YouTube channel, same name. So we went searching for it, and there were several things. So the one that we landed on was the one we thought we were going to look at. And it was the gentleman, but it wasn't very good. It was him in front of behind a candle.
Yeah.
The whole room was dark, and he's trying to tell a story.
Yeah. And if that's what he was going to do, that would have been fine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but he started trying to show you pictures and drawings.
Yeah, it was very dark, and the images he was showing, you couldn't really see.
No.
He also had this background music and sound effects things that was very distracting. You couldn't really hear him. He was very soft-spoken.
Yeah.
And it really felt disjointed, like he was trying to pull all these stories together and off the cuff. And I know he had notes. You could hear him rustling papers.
Right.
But it just didn't fly.
It didn't translate well.
Yeah. It took a while to get through the history, and then he finally got to the ghost story, but he didn't really get to the ghost story. He just told little bits here and there. Wasn't that good. Talked about poltergeist activity, didn't explain what the poltergeist activity was. And so there was a bunch of that. And then about halfway in, he goes, and this was enough to leave us in non-doubt. Yeah, well, that's the point. I'm sorry to say, Andrew, we turned that episode off. Now, there were so many other ones. We decided to go to another one that we saw. Same gentleman, but I don't think it's the same channel. It just had his name, Andrew Dexter. And so it was just a little bit shorter. It was 11 minutes. It was just him. It was Halloween 2016, and he was going to tell a ghost story.
Yeah.
So he's sitting there in light. You can see his face, and he just starts talking. And he's telling the story of this house that he grew up in. A lot of it is stories that his parents and his grandparents have told him. And then he gets to the part, where he's starting to experience it as he's getting older. And it was not too bad.
It was better than
It was way better. Now, I would really like to actually see an investigation of this place. But I guess they moved out when the place was sold. And now it's a hotel. And I didn't quite catch the name of the hotel. Something Park Hotel.
Yeah.
It is in Wales. And so if any of you know of it. Yeah. I would absolutely love to see an actual investigation, because apparently people that work there still hear footsteps and things. There's one room that's supposedly more haunted than the others.
Yeah.
And they're wondering if something came down from the attic and then kind of just gravitated to that room, and that's kind of where it hangs out mostly. Yeah. Which is possible.
Yeah.
Stranger things have been known to happen. He said that they heard some thumping noise or whatever, and they went looking, and this was before he was born, and the attic hatch was open. Now, is it just that it fell down? It wasn't latched tight maybe and fell? I mean, who knows? Who knows? It was a long time ago when I was in the 60s. Yeah, long time ago. But it was an interesting story. It's intriguing. And I am kind of curious now. I'm going to have to go look up some more. I would love to see an actual investigation of this site.
Yeah.
But I don't know if there is any.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll have to see what we can find. So it was, that one was better.
Yeah.
The other one, it was like the Ghost of Gladstone Villa episode 1 or part 1 or something.
Yeah.
And I felt like he was trying to stretch it out into a half an hour episode or something, which is what it turned into. But it just, it didn't grab me the way he was hoping.
And he had too many things going on. And
yeah, and it's just dark.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, a candle would be nice.
Show me a picture and ask me what it was. I got to see it.
Yeah. I think if he'd had a light, just a small light kind of in the back to give it, he could still have the candle and have that ambiance of, a scary story, which I think what he was going for. Yeah. But you needed a bit of light just to see.
Yeah.
But the channel is for other things other than just this. He also posts poetry, has other ghost stories, talks about paranormal stuff, science fiction, local history, and more. So he does an awful lot, a little bit of this and a little bit of that. It sounds like it could be interesting.
Yeah.
But I just think that, yes, if you want to show a story in the dark with a candle, then you don't want to be, showing pictures. I mean, you could certainly have a picture added on and overlaid over. That would have been okay.
Yeah.
That probably would have been better. Here, take a look at this.
Yeah.
Here's showing pictures of his grandparents, and I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
Here, look, you can see them. And then something about markings on the wall in the master bedroom, and he shows it's a square and
3 lines.
I think, it was kind of hard to see. So put these up and say, here, if you've seen this before, let me know. But just kind of the way it was, the production wasn't as good. And I did feel like he was trying to stretch that one out. So the little short one where he's just kind of telling it, perfect. That's fine. And we don't need a big fancy production to tell you the story. So that's kind of what I thought.
Yeah, me too.
I thought. So, I mean, certainly, by all means, if you're into other things, like I said, the sci-fi and local history, I mean, this is Wales. I mean, the history in that area must be amazing. Well, in the whole UK, it's so old. So I'm sure they've got lots of stuff, lots of stories, which probably would be really interesting. So this guy's certainly worth checking out. I just didn't like this particular story, this particular rendition of that story. Yeah. But the other one was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same story told a different way.
Yeah. Just a little bit different, not quite so dramatic. Just the meat and potatoes of the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was good.
Yeah.
So yeah, Andrew, that's our take on it. Thank you very much for sharing your story with us. It was interesting, and we'll certainly be watching you to see what else you come up with.
Yeah.
Anyways, folks, that's it for another edition of Let's Talk Ghosts. Have a good afternoon or a good evening wherever you are.
Happy hunting.
Happy haunting. Bye now.